I was in the Groundlings, a sketch comedy and improv group here in Los Angeles, and there's a game in improv where you have two people in a scene, and when one person brings some information into the scene, like calls the other person the husband or whatever, the other person doesn't say, "I'm not your husband, I don't know you." You don't deny, you never deny what information is given to you. You incorporate it, you honor that person's contribution to the scene, even however wacky it is, and then you move forward. And that's kind of the fun and the enjoyment, is taking all the information and moving the scene forward. And I really saw the parallel in terms of my faith and how I lived out my faith around people who had wide ranges of experience and other people who were seekers too, is not saying no but to their story, but saying yes and. For example, my friend Andrea, when I described God and I described hearing from God, and she said, "Well, that's just your higher self." She said, "Oh, I just call that my higher self." And I said, "Well, maybe what you call your higher self is actually God." I didn't deny her, but I was like, you know what? You're seeing it this way, I'm seeing it that way. Maybe we're describing the same thing. I also got really interested in practicing yoga through a friend, and it was probably the best workout I ever had, and I got a lot of cardio, and I got a lot of muscle tone, and there was also a period of relaxation that God really ministered to me and did a lot of healing in that process. And of course, I met a lot of people with different religious backgrounds, and so it was talking about common experience and saying, yes, and. You know, the Hindus are right in the fact the soul is eternal. It does keep going on after this life is ending. You're right. Yes, and Jesus said you don't have to keep coming back as somebody else. He's actually, you know, you don't have to do that. I'm not saying, no, you're totally wrong, you're way off or whatever. It's much more interesting to say, you know what, I see that little bit of truth. I not even say I see that little bit of truth, but just saying, I hear what you're saying, and here's how I experience that in my life. That's similar. You bring someone into the story and you engage them, and rather than just being an antagonist. It's much more interesting to participate in someone's story and help them along